Good morning. Good morning. It feels like it's been forever. Yes. It's been 2 weeks. But Jan and I had a good time. Like on Friday night, we went to Sonic and had a milkshake. And you know, in my 65 Volkswagen, so that was a lot of fun. And then last night we went and had a blizzard out on the deck at DQ, and so it's just been all kinds of little fun stuff. And she's all rejuvenated. I'm about the same. So. Oh gosh, so much stuff. Actually, it was funny. I got about halfway up here and I started giggling because I completely forgot to cue up a song. Completely slipped my mind. Amazing how fast you forget things. Coming up on the calendar this week is August. The Emotion Code on Monday. And Interchange with Sandra and William on Wednesday. Edgar Casey on Thursday. And then a free intro to Living by Design, a human design workshop with Crystal. And that's on Friday. So all kinds of stuff. Almost every day of September is taken. And in fact, I guess we had some conflict about some overlaps and stuff. So got to get those things done. Labor Day is actually next Monday. And let's see, I know ARE was having a gizmochi on the 17th of September, and someone wanted to talk about that. There you are. Yeah. Had a gizmochi because I have no idea what it was.
Gizmochi?
Yes.
What's the definition of a gizmochi?
Whatever you're going to tell us is the definition of it.
I feel like Webster's Dictionary. Hi, good morning. On the 17th, we are going to be hosting the ARE, Association for Research and Enlightenment, a workshop with Kim O'Neill on angel communication, how to talk with your angels. She apparently was voted Houston's top psychic by Houston Press Magazine. She's got 2 books that are out. And if you're actually really interested in what she does, she's got some YouTube videos out on the internet that you can check. But we cordially invite you to join us. Registration is ongoing. There is information in this flyer as well as on the calendar of how to register. On-site registration will be at 8:30. The workshop is from 9 to 5. And we'd just like to see all of you if you're interested. If there was any time in our nation's history that we needed angels, it's right now. So please come and call on your angels. And I just also wanted to say thank you for all the people that have come to our events and supported the ARE. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you too for all the people that helped out over the last couple of weeks. You know, we couldn't have taken some time off without that, so thank you all. Appreciate that a lot. And if you've never been to Houston, they have a Ren Fair. Oh my word. I assume it's still going on. Renaissance Fair. And it was, when we were there, it was 6 weeks long. Unbelievable. It was just a hoot. So if you ever get a chance to get down there, it's worth going. They have a huge permanent facility. It was like 100 acres or some darn thing, but a huge permanent facility and buildings and all kinds of stuff. And you know what? This is the only church in the world that starts with the Doobie Brothers and combines Christianity and all kinds of other stuff. It's the only one. I know people told us for years that there were, gosh, there's got to be other ones, and we said, yeah, I know, there's just got to be. I don't think there is. I really don't think. We've been doing it for 19 years, so there you go. All right, but we do have a couple patron saints by the name of George Carlin and John Lennon. Hey, George. Also the only ones, I'm sure. Nobody else would do anything like this. And John said the basic thing nobody asked is, why do we take drugs of any sort? Why do we have these accessories to normal living, to life? I mean, is there something wrong with society that makes us so pressurized that we cannot live without guarding ourselves against it? I don't know. Question. And George, equally as introspective, I don't have pet peeves. I have major psychotic hatreds. That's George. That's George. We love him. Keeps us on our toes. At the height of her glory, the imperial Rome dominated dozens of formerly independent kingdoms. Treaties and pacts were constantly being drawn up and sent to the far corners of the world for approval by some prince. The messenger carrying a royal document was said to bear a commission from a term of entrusted. Passing through Old French, the term became current in English about the century before the time of Columbus. It long designated pay for services as an agent. Thus, a diplomatic messenger was listed on the payroll as a commissioner. Commission was usually an agreed-upon salary basis and was paid to such diverse agents as tax collectors, sea captains, and wandering tradesmen. As late as the 18th century, Daniel Defoe, author of Robinson Crusoe, used commission in about the same sense as we now use it as wages. But the commercial world gradually adopted a faster pace. Merchants discovered that a sea captain was likely to be commissioner for about a half a dozen rivals, as well as for his chief employer. Someone thought of offering the commissioner a percentage of profits rather than a flat fee. This type of inducement proved so effective that modern commission systems came into being. So, interesting. Good stuff. Our annual picnic is the 11th of September. Did you want to talk about that? Sure. Thank you. Here you go.
Thank you. Good morning. Lots of stuff going on. Want to bring up the picnic now because we've made some changes to what's going to happen this year. We are actually going to hold service at the park. So church will be at the Columbia Point Park where we're going to have the potluck at. So you need to make sure, and it'll be a drumming Sunday. So bring your drums. We'll do some drumming. Bring your food. If it's something that needs to be kept hot, we do have a few plug-in outlets that we can plug things in. But Joe and I are going to do the pulled pork and the pulled chicken, and we promise this year we will make sure we get pork. Last year we ended up getting beef. It was still good, but it was hard to pull. So pulled pork, pulled chicken, we're going to be doing that. And so I'm going to send around a sign-up sheet for that. Got two of them here. So we just need the side dishes, desserts, salads, anything that will go with the pulled pork. If you want to make a main dish or a casserole or something like that, that's fine too. Anything goes with it. Remember, gluten-free, dairy-free for people who are sensitive. So if you guys have special recipes, please share them with us. So again, that'll be the 11th of September, 10-ish at the park. Okay, and we'll keep announcing it. We'll put it on Facebook. Also, September.
Bring a chair, or you're going to be sitting on the ground.
Yeah, bring a chair, or you're standing or sitting on the ground. So make sure you bring your own chairs because we're not going to be supplying those. Let's see, September communion sign up. I'm going to send that around next. Do I have any volunteer to do it on the 11th? Would anybody like to pick that one up? Okay, so we'll take care of that. So don't worry about signing up on the 11th. We just have 2 spots, the 18th and the 25th. So if anybody's interested, I'm going to send that around. If those 2 spots fill up and you'd still like to sign up, go ahead and flip on over to October. It's coming up fast. Okay, one more thing. I kind of briefly touched on the giveaway table in the kitchen. Okay, I cleaned it off today. There was stuff that's been on there for weeks. Please, if you bring something in and you put it on the table, make sure it's labeled as a giveaway. Check it in a week or 2. If it's still there, please take it back. Take it to Goodwill. Obviously, it's not going to be done. If it's something that's been there, like it's a food item, it's going to get thrown away. So we really kind of hate to do that. This bag is full of pet food. And I need to volunteer to take it to a pet place, a shelter. Perfect. Thank you so much. That is, thank you so much. There's cat food and dog food there. Okay, I think that was it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And there are no eggs and no produce in the kitchen today. Isn't that amazing? We always have either eggs or produce or something that's given away. But that's just what we do. Whether learning has made more proud men or good men may be a question. The stacking together of the paintings of the great masters in museums is a catastrophe, and a collection of 100 good intellects produces collectively one idiot. I don't know. I know. This was Carl Jung in 1875. The stacking together of paintings of the great masters in museums is a catastrophe, and a collection of 100 good intellects and produces collectively one idiot. I know. I don't get it either. You know, it's like, okay, I probably should have skipped that one. Forget that one. Just don't. Yeah. Intellect is invisible to the man who has none. Case in point, right? Okay, it takes me a while to get back. It had 2 weeks off. What can I say? Help. The apparatus for measuring feet at a shoe store is called a Brannock device. But then when was the last time you went to a shoe store and had one of them? I mean, I don't even use them anymore. So. The fattest knight at King Arthur's Round Table was circumference. He acquired its size from too much pie. Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse. I thought I saw an eye doctor on an Alaskan island, but it turned out just to be an optical illusion. Illusion, I guess, would be appropriate. She was only a whiskey maker, but he loved her still. A rubber band pistol was confiscated from algebra class because, of course, it was a weapon of math disruption. No matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary. Ta-da! Only in America do we leave our cars worth thousands of dollars in the driveway and put our useless junk in the garage. Only in America do we buy hot dogs in packages of 10 and buns in packages of 8. And only in America do they have drive-up ATM machines with Braille lettering. Not sure. I have been in many places, but I've never been in cahoots. Apparently, you can't go alone. You have to be in cahoots with someone. I've also never been in incognito. I hear no one recognizes you there. I have, however, been insane. They don't have an airport. You have to be driven there. I have made several trips there thanks to my friends, family, and work. I would like to go to conclusions, but you have to jump, and I'm not too much on physical activity anymore. I have also been in doubt. That is a sad place to go, and I try not to visit there too often. I've been inflexible, but only when it was very important to stand firm. Sometimes I'm incapable, and I go there more often more often as I am getting older. One of my favorite places, though, is to be in suspense. It really gets the adrenaline flowing and pumps up the old heart. And at my age, I need all the stimuli I can get. So, there you go. Okay, your choice is either we just kind of grab a song that I just grab, or I turn, because I don't even have the computer on. I forgot to even turn it on. So, what can I say? We'll do something out of our book, okay? Haven't done that in a long time.
So, Phill, you are in trouble.
I try not to get teared up, and I always do, because it really is my true heart's belief for you. Hey, we have a guest speaker today, but you know what? Did anyone notice, like, doesn't that look nice? I mean, sheesh. Guess who did that?
Roy.
Thank you, Roy. That looks wonderful.
And Carol.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and Carol. You put up with him, so. Yeah. Hey, you know what? This is also the only church in the universe that you can come to and hear a priest from the liberal Catholic Church and not have to go to a Catholic church to hear it. How's that? And of course, I grew up Catholic and Catholic school, and oh yes, and I got the ruler across the knuckles and the paddle with the drilled holes, and whoo-hoo. Yeah. And I was a good kid. I mean, gee. Hey, Christopher. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I can imagine what kind of good kid he was. It reminds me of Wayne Dyer when he told his parents he came home from school and said the teacher said I was a scurvy elephant. And so the teacher parents got all concerned, and he went in and talked to the teacher and said, no, that's not what we said. We said he was a disturbing elephant. Big difference. Well, I kind of have an idea what I want to talk to you about this morning, but I want to share some stuff. Anybody go to the fair? Yeah? Great. I went Tuesday to the rodeo. My gosh. The first 5 guys that came on the bull never got to the 8 seconds. And then the next 4 all did it. Then after, because they have to have 4, there's 4 places. Then after that, everybody got dumped. Amazing. Had a good time. But what I really want to talk to you about is there's some things that have happened to me. There's some changes that are going on. And I offhandedly sometimes say, I'm burning karma. So I want to talk about karma this morning. One of the things that's going on is I have another growth on my liver. So I'm going to go over to Seattle on the 6th, and they're going to look at it and see what's going on and check everything out. And a lot of people will say, gee, you seem to be handling having cancer, because I have 2 cancers now. I have the prostate cancer, and I also have pancreatic cancer. But everybody looks at me and says, how do you deal with it like that? And sometimes offhandedly I will say, well, it's just karma. I'm dealing with it. Well, karma has an interesting, it's worked its way, I think, into an interesting place in our culture. And I kind of wanted to clarify a little bit more when I say karma, what I'm really talking about. Because it's not like, oh, okay, the guy's drowning out there. Should we save him? Nah, it's his karma. Let him drown. It's not that. Okay? And it always reminds me of the story of the man that had this beautiful stallion, and a thunderstorm comes along, and its horses got really freaked out, and the stallion got out and ran into the mountains. And all the villagers says, oh, what bad luck you have. You've lost your prized stallion. And the old man would answer, he goes, well, maybe not. And then the stallion came back a week later with a couple of mares, the wild mares. So he had more horses. And the townspeople gathered around and said, hey, well, what good fortune you have. And the old man would say, well, maybe not. Well, his son went out to start breaking the wild horses and tamed them so they could be ridden. Well, he fell off and broke his leg. And the townspeople came along and they said, oh, what terrible fortune you have. And the old man said, well, maybe not. Well, then the army came through and they took all of the young men from the village to go fight the war. And they didn't take his son because he had a broken leg. And the villager said, oh, what good fortune you have. And the old man said, maybe not. So karma's kind of like that. Karma really is kind of like that. So I have to pull out my little cheat card because I've got to get scientific on you. Newton has 3 laws, right? 3 laws of motion. The first one, if no force acts on a body in motion, it continues to move uniformly in a straight line. Remember that? Okay. The second rule, if a force acts on a body, it produces a change of motion proportionate to the force and in the same direction. So if you ever played pool, okay, and you want to get the 7 ball in the side pocket, and you're way back here on the table, the way you hit the cue ball is to make sure that you hit it with just enough force. So you don't want to, side pocket, you don't want to hit it hard, so that it easily rolls into the side pocket. So that's the second law of motion. All right? The third, when a body exerts force on another, that other reacts with equal force upon the one. In other words, it reacts with equal force upon the force that's been exerted on it. So what's this got to do with karma? let's take the motion in Newton's law, the first law, and look at spirit, okay? And since spirit has not motions, but motions, ways of being, all right? So as we go through life after life after life after life after life after life, because we've got a lot of them, trust me, okay? When you go through all of those, we have developed motions within our spirits, habits, if you will, ways of doing things. And we have spent a lot of times doing that. And if we just kind of sit back and go through our day, those motions of our spirit just keep moving right along. Okay? First law. If a force acts on a body in motion, if no force, acts on a body in motion, it continues to move uniformly in a straight line. So if we don't do anything about our habits, our preferences, any of those types of things, it just keeps going the way it's going. Make sense? Okay? Because I'm seeing a lot of nodding in heads, and I want to make sure you got it. Because I learned a long time ago, men, this is for you. You're talking to a woman, she's going like this. Doesn't mean she's agreeing. Okay? It just means she's listening. All right. That tip can save you a lot of grief. Okay, so that's the first law of motion. And as we look at it from a sense of karma, which spirit, we have all of these habits, we have all of these things that we've developed, you know, that we like to do. We just naturally kind of do those things. If nothing acts on them, if we just go through our life like we're doing it, normally, day in and day out, they will continue to go along the way they're going. The habits that we have, the tendencies that we have will continue. Okay? Now, the second law. The second law of motion is if a force acts on a body, it produces a change of motion proportionate to the force and in the same direction. So if we imply our will on some of those motions and on some of those tendencies, we are now interfering with that flow, okay? We've exerted a force on some of those motions, on some of those tendencies. Now this doesn't mean you come into church today, you listen to what I'm saying, and you're going to go home and say, I can change everything. Because it's proportionate to the force that's exerted on the motion. So when you take thousands, well, okay, I'm going to say thousands of lifetimes, because it might be that many, because we're evolving spirits. We're evolving life, okay? If you take hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lifetimes, that's a lot of motion, that's a lot of tendency, that's a lot of habits that we have built up over the centuries of incarnations. So one day saying, I'm going to change this, that little bit of will proportionate to this great big motion that you have going will have an effect, but it'll be proportionate to the will that you exert upon it. Make sense? All right. So if you really want to make a change to your karma, you have to have that force proportionate to what's out there. So you need to add a lot of willpower to make things change. A lot. Every day. You have to watch your karma. You have to stay on top of it. You can't say, yeah, I'm good today. And then get in the car, somebody cuts you off, and you swear. You lost it. All right. So the other piece of this, which is really important, that I think sometimes we miss with the way we've conceptualized karma, if two houses are destroyed in an earthquake, the two owners of that house can have a whole different experience. One can be in agony and pain over the loss of their house and all of the things that are in there, and the other could be completely content with it and answer just like the old man in the village. Maybe, maybe not. Let me make this a little clearer. Let's take two dogs that are on a chain. Okay? One dog's pulling as hard as he can against that chain, and the other is lying there peacefully in the shade. The one dog that's pulling on the chain is in pain and agony. The other dog that's just lying there is not. So is the chain the karma, or how we react to the occurrence of karma the karma? Because this is the third law of Newton's laws of motion, which is when a body exerts force on another, the other reacts with equal force upon the one. So as the dog's pulling against the chain with all his might, it's pulling right back with the same amount of force that he's exerting. And yet the dog that's lying there still is not feeling anything at all. He's content. So, once again, is the chain the karma, being chained up? Or is how we react to it the karma? So, I wanted to talk about this morning because I never really wanted to mislead anyone when I'm going through all the stuff that I'm going through. And I said, yeah, I'm burning karma. In my mind, I'm looking at karma from a very interesting perspective. Okay? Yeah, I am burning karma, but I also realize I'm burning karma to the point of will that I'm pushing on it with. Okay? And I have to do that constantly. I have to be vigilant about it constantly. I cannot just offhandedly say, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes and be good. Now, you have to watch your karma. You have to watch your habits. You have to watch your tendencies. If you want to change a habit, if you want to change a tendency, you have to stay on top of it. You have to actually put a lot of work into it. You don't just let it happen, because that's the first law of motion. And if you do nothing, you'll keep going from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime with the same habits and the same tendencies, and nothing will change. You'll bring it with you from one life to the next, to the next, to the next. Until you start adding that force and making that change. And it's going to be proportionate. It'll be proportionate to the amount of force you apply. So unless you decide to be very diligent about really working hard to make some changes, you'll make small changes, but you'll have nothing significant. Small changes will work over a long period of time, because a small trickle of water can do a lot of things. Okay? So I don't want to downplay that. It's important to understand anything that you put in that direction to keeping yourself vigilant about how you are as a spiritual being in this particular lifetime, dealing with your karma and your habits and your tendencies is a good thing. All right? I just want to make sure that you have a slightly deeper understanding of what karma really is and how it works. Okay? I know this, I feel like I'm just hammering this, but it seemed really important to me, and it's funny, sometimes I've been noticing lately when I come here to speak, about a week before, something comes into my mind, and it just plants itself, and it starts to grow. And I go, oh, I guess that's what I'm talking about. And every time it does this, believe it or not, I'm uncomfortable. I go, oh, I don't know if I know enough to talk about this. And I get this like, you're talking about it. and the whole way I'm going, well, I'm not too sure. No, this is the subject. And I go, okay. And then I show up. So some of the stuff I've already said this morning, I had no idea I was going to say it. I knew I was going to talk about these laws because I know the similarities between Newton's laws of motions and the law of karma are so parallel. It just jumped right out at me. And it's huge when you look at it that way, because it does make a difference how much you really are watching your habits and how much you're really watching your tendencies and the ones that you want to change. So what we have good karma, right? And we have a thing that we call bad karma, correct? And so what we want to do, we want to really build on the good karma, and we want to kind of minimize the bad karma. And if we don't do anything, it's just going to follow us from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime to lifetime to lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. Okay? So we want to work on that. But do we take the bad karma and stomp all over it right away? I haven't thought about that. Let's take a plant. Let's take a wheat plant. And if you have wheat, which is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful food plant, okay? We do a lot of things with wheat. Some people are wheat intolerant, I'm sorry. But we do a lot of things with wheat. But before we can do that, the wheat has to grow, okay? And it has, not only does it have to grow, it has to mature before we can harvest it. In every stem of wheat, there's this stem and then the wheat near the top. And we could say the wheat near the top is the good karma, and we could say the stem is the bad karma. But without that stem, we would not have wheat. So it's important to realize some of the things that we label as bad karma are necessary for evolution and our growth. You have heard me say, and I know I say this a lot, there is no growth without some pain. There is no growth without some pain. We cannot expect to just sit on the top of the mountain, the fool on the hill, and expect to become enlightened without going through the growth and the pain to get there. That is essential. So when I say watch your karma, what I'm saying is be aware of your habits. Be aware of your tendencies. Which ones do you want to shore up? Which ones do you want to diminish? And if you've ever tried to go turkey on a habit, just cut it off, what happens? It comes back. And it comes back with what? Yeah. Newton's law of motion. Yeah, it comes back with that same force, and it gets stronger, because what you're doing is the third law. Now, when you cut it off, cold turkey, you're going, putting up a wall. And it hits that wall with the same amount of force that you put out there to stop it when you go cold turkey. And when you finally go, I can't do this anymore, boom, it comes through and it knocks you over. That's why we keep dieting all the time. We keep exercising all the time. We get the same results. Is that the definition of crazy? Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results? You mean I'm crazy? I've been crazy all this time? No. But that's really what it's about. And here's the funny thing about habits. Habits, they're powerful, 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 powerful. And when I say habits, when I'm talking about habits, I'm also talking about thought forms, okay? And I'm not going to go into a big, long talk this morning about thought forms, but they're real. We generate them, we make them, we carry them around like balloons. The circus guy runs around with all these balloons. He goes, balloons, get your balloons here. Well, we're walking around with all our thought forms, the things that we think about all the time. And they have a life. We've given them life. We've created them. They don't want to disappear. The way they stay in existence is by going, think about me, think about me. So if you have thoughts that you don't want to be thinking about and you try to like cold turkey them, it's going to be really hard to get rid of that that particular thought. It's going to hang in there and hang in there, and the minute you let your guard down, poof, oh, I thought about it. Oh, how do I stop thinking about this stuff? It gets crazy. It can get crazy. So here's what you got to do. Here's how you deal with habits. Habits have 3 components. There's the what, the how, and the desire. You got to have all 3 components to work with a habit. And so I'll give you an example of a person that wants to be an expert fly fisherman. Okay? So the what would be what kind of pole, what kind of line, what kind of fly, what kind of weather conditions, dry fly, wet fly, all those things. That's the what. And the how would be, 2 o'clock, it's 10 o'clock, I believe, 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Knowing how to cast, that's the proper way, and how long to hold it. And then, of course, the desire is to want to do it. So if I take one of those 3 components away, let's say I take the how away, you know what kind of pole to use, what kind of line to use, sinking, floating, what kind of leader, what kind of fly, wet, dry, under what kind of weather conditions. You have the what down, you know it. It's cold turkey, you've got that. You've got the desire, you really want to do it. But you know what? You don't have the how. You generally cast it's down here to 4 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and you're wondering why you can't get the darn line out into the water. You just don't have the how down. You can't make it a habit. I'll give you the what, the how back. But I'm going to take the what away now. Okay? So you can cast all day long. No problem. You have the desire, you want to do it. You're just as happy as a lamb when you're on the water and watching the sun sparkling in the waves and the rapids and stuff, and you can hear the birds, and there's no grizzly bears on the other side trying to get your salmon, and you're just really doing fine and everything's cool. But you know what? You got a 4-foot pole, you got the wrong kind of line, you're not sure what kind of fly you're supposed to use, and gee, it's a little bit cloudy, and you just don't have the what. You're not going to be successful. You can't make it a habit. So I'll give you the what back, but I'm going to take the desire away now. Okay? So now you know what kind of pole, what kind of line, what kind of fly, what kind of weather conditions. You can cast all day long, but you know what? You don't want to do it. You don't have the desire. So you have to have all 3 if you really want to make it work. That applies to anything in our lives. It applies to our karma. It applies to our spiritual development. It applies to the things that we're trying to overcome. It applies to the things that we're trying to obtain. It applies to everything. You have to have those 3 things to move forward in any one of those areas. Any one of those areas. And if you do, you can make that change. So when I say watch your karma, what I'm saying is be aware about the things that you really want to start being in more control of. And when you start to slide a little bit, and God knows I do it all the time, I have to pull myself back and say, no, this is a track I want to be on. And I'm going to have to do that not only the rest of this lifetime, whatever's left to it, probably several, I don't know how many more, before I can finally get complete control over all of this thing. Because I know it's much bigger than my one lifetime. I've created it, but I've created it over a long, 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 long time. And I'm the only one that can deal with it. Nobody else can. As no one else can deal with what you are dealing with. Only you. Only you have the power to do that. I do not have the power to make that change in you. But you do. But you have to be diligent. You have to stay on top of it. I know I've been really serious this morning. I'm generally a little more jovial. But I thought this is a heavy subject. And we're all dealing with it. And, it's one thing to go through stuff. And God bless our prayer warriors, because they make a huge difference here in our community, in this church community. With all of that being said, though, bottom line, it still rests with you. Okay? You can take the horse to water, but you can't make the horse to drink. So the prayer warriors can give you the energy. They can surround you in that light. But if you're not willing to step into it, it's not going to do you any good. So it really comes back to you. And it doesn't matter how far you slip and slide, just always remember the prodigal son. You'll always be welcome back. You've never been cast out. Okay, so we're sinners. The Bible says we're miserable sinners. Why be miserable? You know, I'm not going to be miserable about it. I'm just going to work with it. And that's what I think is important. That's what I think is important. So let me leave you with this little teeny quote. There's probably a whole bunch of other things there is. There's a whole lot floating around in my mind, but I think I got the point across. So I love this quote. Based on everything I just said, when we have done our best, we should wait the results in peace. Let me say that one more time. When we have done our best, we should wait the results in peace. Don't compare yourself to someone else. Don't say to yourself, well, gee, they're tapped in. Why can't I tap in? Or they can read their cards really well. How come I can't do that? Don't compare yourself to anyone else. Compare yourself to you. Do your best. And when you do your best, wait for the results in peace. And trust me, every single one of us will evolve into something that's so magnificent that I can't put words to where we're headed. But it's work. Namaste.